So my guest today blew the whistle on Comcast. He was working at Comcast, and he blew the whistle on some shenanigans they were doing. We're going to check his tweet out here real quick. This is Chase Roper, and here's what he said. I just quit working for Xfinity Comcast. I want families to know that the Special Essentials program they offer to low-income households for $9.95 a month is only 25 Mbps, and in almost every case, not an adequate speed for children to do their Zoom online classwork. This tweet went viral. He has been contacted by several outlets, including the Wall Street Journal, since then. And he has an entire thread here. And we got him today because, coincidentally, he's also a comedian up in the Northwest. I used to live in Seattle, so him and I have some mutual friends. But without further ado, please welcome to the show, Mr. Chase Roper. Chase, how are you, buddy?
Hey, hello. I'm doing well. How are you and everybody? Nobody else can answer but you, but I'll assume they're all doing good.
So let's jump into this, man. I have your tweet here, but what exactly is Comcast doing right now? Like what caused you to say, I've had enough, I'm out of here?
Yeah. I mean, I think this is also just on top of everything else. This was like the straw that broke it for me, because doing sales in a high pressure environment, trying to upsell everybody on every phone call when everyone's struggling during a pandemic just felt bad. Like I'm probably just not like a good salesperson. But also, there's some things that I think that should not be happening. So what I'm referring to in that tweet is, and also this is ridiculous that I'm doing this about a tweet. This is crazy.
This is the digital age we live in, man.
I know.
This is like, well, and we're going to talk more about like just your personal experience too. But let's first go. Like, what exactly did they do?
So there's a program that they've always had available called Internet Essentials before I worked there. And I was there for almost 2 years. And Internet Essentials is touted by Comcast as being a program for low income people or households. They either have kids that are on free reduced lunch, or they receive Medicaid, Medicare, or disability, or Section 8 housing, people that are like in need, right? They apply, and then they get to have a equipment rental, internet connection for $10 a month, basically. And that internet speed is 25 megabits per second on the download, and then 3 megabits per second on the upload. Before the pandemic, that's adequate for a student or two to like log into their Google class and submit their homework, like, upload a file or email their teacher. That's fine. It's not going to run multiple things on Netflix or something like that. It's not great.
But would it be, would like basic streaming be possible? I mean, could you watch like a YouTube video? Could you?
I mean, I would talk to people who claim that they had that program and were running 5 smart TVs with no problem. And I would just count them as lucky, because most people I talked to were calling in who had the program already. And they're like, my kids can't game while I'm watching YouTube or Netflix. Like, well, yeah, the upload speed is not really enough to do all of that. But with everybody working from home all of a sudden, and students having no other option than remote schooling from home, that's not enough. And, I was getting phone calls from teachers and parents that are like concerned that their kids are missing out on their education. And my only solution for them was to upgrade their speed, which means this thing that is the only thing you can afford, you need to pay us 6 times that minimum. And that still won't fix it. The first regular internet speed, which is that Comcast has, is like 100 megabits per second, and the upload is 5. And then the next tier up is 200 down, still a 5 megabit per second upload. The middle tier, which is now 400, has a 10 megabit upload. If you're not in that double digits upload and you've got 3 or 4 kids, you're not going to be able to have them all live stream with their class environment at the same time. And maybe mom and dad, or just mom, is trying to do their job too, and they can't do that. And that's making a profit off of those people. at that point. They need access to education, and I'm sure it's not just Comcast. I'm sure other corporations, like providers, are doing the same kind of thing. But you're advertising yourself. You're putting ads out on TV and online about what a great thing you're doing for the community,
right?
To make sure kids can stay connected, and it's actually not working. And when people call in to apply for it, sales reps, which are the customer service department, are having sales conversations, because if they don't, they'll be getting bad grades on their calls. They will miss out on commission opportunity. So they're still doing like the sales process and trying to talk you into buying something different. And it's just, that shouldn't be happening that shouldn't ever be happening for those types of families, but it shouldn't be happening during this pandemic, like, for sure. And I just saw a tweet. I just saw an ad for that program, and I had quit a few days before, and it just pissed me off. It just felt like people should know that they are well aware that this isn't adequate, and yet still that's the only thing they're giving families. Some schools get it for free, and it's not enough.
Well, and one of the missions of this show, which is one of the reasons I reached out to you, is that, I firmly believe the internet is a public utility in our life, and it needs to be treated like one, which means we should have municipal broadband, which is city-owned internet, all across the country. And that's something that, we try to really promote on this show and try to pursue on this show. I mean, I'm trying to get it in my own community where I live. And, this is such a testament to that, where, the internet kids need it to learn. They can't go to school now without it. And when you have a for-profit cable company in charge of things, when they can't go to school and learn, not you, but the company has to tell them, oh, give us more money. Well, I don't have more money. I haven't worked in 9 months. And, the federal government has just forgotten its people. I mean, that's absolutely batshit insane. It'd be like, and I know this isn't like a perfect analogy because, water is something that if you don't have it, you will straight up die. But it's in the league of, as if like our water supply, some people, their water was just trickling out of a faucet, and it takes hours to just fill up a glass of water, and they call you and they're like, oh, my water, I don't get enough water for my children on a daily basis. And you say, well, you got to give us more money and your sink will work better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beyond messed up. And I get it. It's not quite the same. Without water, you will die. It's not, but it's still a utility. I mean, the internet is still, think of all the things you can't do without an internet connection. Especially during a pandemic, some people, they do need it for food because they can't go out right now. And anyway, I know. And
I agree. Same conversation.
Just so maddening.
I would have this conversation with customers on the phone just because it's who I had to talk to when we first all got sent home and, stuff was shutting down. I couldn't imagine going through this pandemic without all of the things the internet affords us right now. If this had happened 10 years ago, we wouldn't have Instacart. We wouldn't have Lyft and Uber. We wouldn't have the ability to do Zoom and Google classes like this. Like, that stuff was like in its infancy, and now we have it. And it just, I think, shows exactly, like you said, that's how important the internet is. I always use like the power company as like my analogy to it. I felt like if someone called me for internet and I'm supposed to have a conversation about who's using the internet in the house and how are you using it, so I can figure out how I can pitch other stuff to you and different speeds. If I move into an apartment and like Tacoma Public Utilities asks me how many people are using the electricity in the apartment and how many things do I plan on plugging in at the same time, I would want to say everything at the same time. Just give me all of the electricity and charge me for what I use. The internet should be like that. I shouldn't be upsold other products and limited on how much internet I have access to. I'm like, well, if you want to be able to plug in, use your washer and dryer while you have the TV on, it's going to cost you this much more per month, but you can save some money if you get TV and this typewriter.
If you upgrade, if you upgrade to our Ben Franklin with a boner package, you are going to get it all.
That's right.
Yeah, it's just nuts. Like when you look at, there's all kinds of those analogies out there, and it just really brings it back to how absolutely batshit crazy this all is. So, let's talk a little bit about your experience then. So you kind of just snapped and you were like, F this. How did you quit? Did you like walk out? Did you do one of those like, fuck you, you're cool? Like, did you do one of those?
No, I wish. It's so much more impersonal because everything's remote. So all my communication is over like Microsoft Teams, in like a group text chat.
You'd have to tag everybody like fuck you at you're cool.
Yeah. It was sort of more gradual where it took me some time. I wanted to have a job ready to go to before I quit, for one. And I decided to apply for FMLA. I got intermittent medical leave for mental health from my therapist. So I was able to take time off whenever I needed without warning, and they can't ask me why. And I could use that time to find a new job. And also, like, there were just mornings where I could not face putting my headset on and answering phone calls because I knew that the majority of the calls were going to be people who are struggling, and I have to sell them more things.
Now,
and it just felt like shit.
When you say the majority, I mean, like, what are we kind of talking guesstimate, like just numbers wise? I mean, what would a typical hour be like?
Before pandemic, most of my phone calls were people who didn't have service and they're looking to get service for the first time. Mm-hmm. And a small fraction of those people already had service and were looking to make a change or maybe asked about internet essentials. After the pandemic, like 70% of my customers were existing customers that already had service and either wanted to lower their bill or fix their internet speed somehow, or they were wanting to apply for internet essentials. I rarely got brand new people, in the summertime, a lot of calls, people were moving, and then you're just moving their stuff to a different address. But, it used to be primarily brand new people, and then you're just pitching them all these services. But after the pandemic, there's people who had service and lost their job. I mean, the first 2 months were people like, hey, I lost my job, but I need internet. What do I do? And you're just like removing TV and removing whatever services they have and lowering their internet speed to get a bill that they can afford. And then telling them, well, we're not going to disconnect anybody's service. That's all on hold. So you'll just be able to keep your connection. It'll be lowered to that 25.3 speed if they don't pay their bills. And then it basically is unusable at that point. But those phone calls just got harder and harder to deal with. And I think that a lot of salespeople found success in just not being upfront and pitching packages and plans that they know really aren't adequate, but that's not their problem. So sell it.
Wow. And that was that encouraged?
No, Comcast is really careful to not have things in writing that say, tell customers that this will work when you know it won't. But if you're just not very specific, then you're technically okay. And so it's definitely encouraged.
Give me an example. Like what kind of things would people say?
If a customer called in asking about, like, let's say the Internet Essentials program, right? Hey, my kid's counselor sent him home with this flyer. I guess we qualify for this special program and we need an internet connection for his schoolwork. I would have to say something like, absolutely, let me help you out with that. I'm glad you called in, like, be appreciative and whatever. And then ask them who's using the service in the house and how are they using the service, but in my own natural conversational way. So I can see, like, how many kids are there? What's their need? Oh, well, they're going to be doing, Zoom class work and I have to work from home. All right, do you guys do any like streaming? Do you guys watch Netflix? Like, yeah, oh cool, did you watch this show? Talk about a thing they watch. And then after you talk to them for a bit, you say, I can definitely help you out with this Internet Essentials application, but just so you know, the speed is 25 megabits per second, and the upload's only 3, so it's really not going to be enough to support all 3 of your kids doing class at the same time. I do have another option for you. This really cool package. It's 100 megabits per second, and I don't say the upload speed. The service also comes with the Xfinity streaming app, so you can watch your local channels for like news. Plus, you guys can still stream on it. You guys like to watch, XYZ that like you said, and because you guys, you're in an apartment. This has a backup landline, so if you guys need to call 911 for whatever reason, hopefully you don't, but you guys will have that option available to you too. And that's only going to run you about $67 before tax. How about we do something like that? And then they'll be like, yeah, that sounds great. I mean, mostly
the upload is still insufficient.
Yeah, the upload's still insufficient. But now that sales rep sold 3 lines of business on one call, so that pads their close rate towards their bonus for the end of the month. And they get a triple play payout, a 3 product payout of an extra $30 for commission. So they just like made money off that one phone call. But that's really not going to be enough speed. But to sell somebody who can only afford $10 a month a triple play with a speed that will work, it's going to cost them over $120 a month. So they're going to shoot for this tiny skinny bundle is what the sales reps call it. And I just refuse to do that when I know that won't work. And this kid needs access to school. That's ridiculous.
So it's like, here's something incredibly insufficient. Here's something still insufficient, but slightly better. And we really get a nice profit margin here. So go for this middle. Is that essentially what they? So it was like you 100%. were really just paying for marketing. At the end of the day, they were selling you marketing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Let's go to your tweet for a little bit,
Sure.
and then I want to talk about your experience with the tweet. But so I agree with this sentiment, by the way. The only reason to pay them for live TV is sports. I do disagree with that in general. I'm actually not a Comcast customer because that's not my area. But all right. Now, keep in mind, too, that they are raising rates and fees while our country faces this nightmare. What kind of fees were they raising? Like what rates were going up?
Couple of things. So the TV broadcast fee was raised by like $2 to $3 depending on the region that you live in. That's those hidden fees that everyone says TV providers do.
So wait, time out. So they were raising the fees that you usually don't see right in your face, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I
oh my God,
we send those, like if we send somebody like a agreement over the phone, they have to like open a text message and see the terms of the agreement, and those fees are all listed out. So that would always be a conversation with everybody. But if you are a experienced agent there, when you pitch somebody the price for whatever this bundle is you're selling, you're including that fee in your number so that it's not a sticker shock when they see this total. It looks right. But it is an arbitrary fee. The Comcast website just says this is to cover the cost of what networks charge Comcast for carrying their feed on their cable.
So that's passing the blame.
It's passing the blame. And we don't know what the networks are charging. That's not public information. So it's just an arbitrary number that they say, well, we have to raise this now. Like really, during the pandemic, we're going to add another $2 to $3 to everybody's bill to millions of customers. That's just to grab more money. To me, is how I feel about it. I don't think it cost more money. There were no live sports, but they still charged a regional sports fee. That's the other TV, type of fee that they put on a bill. So there's that. The other thing that they did,
Chase, there's just to interject an aside here. You and I are both comics, and so we both know this. There's a reason Bill Hicks had a very famous bit about people who work in marketing, and this is the reason right here. Please continue. And anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, look up that bit after the show. But please continue, Chase.
Yeah, the other thing that they did was they raised the overall pricing on all of their services individual services and bundles by $10 so that they could offer a discount of $10 if you subscribe to automatic payments. Now, if you were an existing customer, your bill didn't just go up by $10. But if you called in to change your plan, like your contract had run out or you wanted to add a new thing to it, that was going to undo the lesser priced, I guess, version of that service and add $10 to it and then force you to do automatic payments to get that $10 off again. So those two things happening at the same time, and then announcing that there's a data cap on all the accounts in the middle of this I mean, that would happen at the end of June. And they're like, hey, there's a limit. It's 1.2 terabytes. And if you want unlimited data, it's $30 more a month. That's just crazy.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your